So Superman and Lois is now on hiatus until the end of the month, which is a little bit disappointing, but with the Olympics and all that, it can't really be helped. So episode 5 will be our next episode, which I believe airs on February 23rd or around then. Same with Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman and Naomi as well. I think all three of them are off now until the Olympics are over, until the end of the month. But in my opinion, episode 4, The Inverse Method, was by far the best episode of the season for me. Well, not even by far. Last week's was pretty good as well. But I think that this was the episode where the season has really started to click into place for me, and that the season is really starting to get going in a good way. I think that a lot happened, that there were developments on really every storyline, and that a lot of development happened for the characters as well. There are a few things concerning characters that I'm a little bit, I wouldn't say angry about, but I'm not really happy with what they're doing with certain characters, or where they're taking these characters, I should say. But really quickly, before getting deeper into this review, I just want to ask if you can subscribe if you're not already. I make DC videos. I'm going to try and make at least one DC video a week, or at least one video a week. I know Marvel, sometimes I make Marvel videos as well, but like with college and everything, it's kind of hard to get more than like one video out a week. Even getting a video out a week is kind of hard now. So I will probably be like prioritizing doing videos on things like Superman and Lois until I have much more free time. Maybe some Moon Knight stuff when that comes out, because that looks exciting. But yeah, I'm going to try and hit 1k this year, which I think is pretty doable going at the current rate of subscribers. So if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe, because it really does help out. But yeah, just getting right into it, I want to talk about that final fight that took place in Bolivia, I think they said, which included Bizarro, Superman, John Henry Irons, Tag, the Superman of America, the whole thing. It was great. It looked really, really good. Now, yeah, it was pretty obvious that the effects or whatever, or the visual effects or the CGI in the background, the green screen, all that, it was pretty obvious that the characters weren't there, that the people weren't there. Like, you can tell those backgrounds are something that was put in post. But I still think that the show is doing some things the other Arrowverse shows is not, and that is really, really, really playing with the setting, really, really, really playing with how everything looks, how different it looks. Because, like, let's be real, when we're watching The Flash, or when we were watching Supergirl, it's always the same kind of locations that we see the fights happening. There's never really any changing up. Superman and Lois does the opposite, where it feels like every time we have a new battle, it takes place in a location we haven't seen before. And this episode was a perfect example of that, where we really got to see a unique setting. We really got to see some great uses of Superman's powers, and the fact that it all kind of collided in this beautiful skyline, and the reflection on the ground looked really great. Now, to start off the fight, we had Bizarro kill two of the Supermen of America, the two that I don't think had names, or at least I can't remember if they had names, and Tag got away because he was the one we actually knew, or the one we actually recognized. I kind of theorized something like this was going to happen, because in the comics, when Doomsday first gets out of the ground, he goes after like the B-tier Justice League, or he's going towards Metropolis, and the B-tier Justice League try and fight him, and they lose miserably. Now, this obviously wasn't anywhere near what I thought it was going to be. I really was expecting like Tag to die as well whenever we would get this, and I wasn't really expecting it to happen in a place like this. I was expecting it to happen still in Smallville. But I think that this is kind of close to what I expected, where we were going to get a really big like fight scene to really from the get-go show us that Bizarro is not to be messed with, and that he's going to kill people. He's definitely not being played off as sympathetic as he was last episode. Like last episode he was yelling "leave me alone" and then ran off on his own, whereas in this episode he murders two people like instantly. Now, that weird gem thing he has on them, there's obviously something big there with that. That's obviously important for a reason. Now, it's weird because I thought Bizarro was trying to destroy it at the beginning of the episode, and then later on in the episode. I think that there's something big there. Maybe this is the connection between him and Superman, because he was trying to, at the beginning of the episode, like, do something with it with Superman. I don't know whether he was trying to maybe merge the two together, where he wanted to kind of come back to life or something, because he does look like a zombie. He looks dead. So I'm wondering if there's something there where the two characters need to merge or something, or this is like a split version of Superman that has somehow split off at some point. Either way, that gem is very, very, very important. And now that Tag and Anderson has it, I think it's going to be something we're going to get into in a big way in the next episode. John Henry Irons in that fight was awesome. Him throwing the hammer was great, which the hammer seems to be destroyed now, I think is what they showed when it hit Bizarro. And John Henry Irons is now in a pretty bad way. in hospital and whatnot, which I know that there's a lot of speculation John Henry Irons is going to die this season, but I don't know, I feel like the fact that they did this so early where now he's really badly injured makes me think he might not die this season after all, because now he's probably going to be out of commission for a couple episodes, I'd imagine. Like, I think it'll be a while before he gets back in that suit. I also do think, though, that this is them slowly going to lead us to John Henry Irons getting a brand new suit, getting a new hammer, and probably when he does get the new suit, it's going to have the iconic S on it that we know from the comics. Which that's going to be really awesome to see. I want to talk about Jonathan really quick because he's taking the X-Kryptonite now, and it seems that like what he was given was that he can see things that are really far away, or he can see the details on things that are really far away. This side plot actually really felt like something we would have seen in Smallville, like the TV show Smallville, and I really liked it for that reason. Like the way they did the effects on Jonathan's eyes going like really big, the way they kind of did the football scenes, just everything about it felt like something we would see Clark Kent do in Smallville, and I really did appreciate that. Like, I don't know if it was intentional to be that similar, but like, I could totally see Clark in season 4 of Smallville doing exactly what Jonathan did here. That storyline, again, I'm actually really not sure where this is going. I thought I kind of had an idea, but it doesn't seem like the X-Kryptonite did anything special to Jonathan, because I thought that since he was half Kryptonian that it would do something that he wouldn't expect or whatever, but it seems like they're already kind of moving off of that. Like, if the whole conversation between Jonathan and Natalie is anything to go by, I think Jonathan's probably going to stop taking it pretty soon. Now, a reason why that might not be the case is because the Jonathan and Natalie scene is actually only in the extended cut of the episode. Like, there's a 43-minute cut of the episode, and there's a 41-minute cut of the episode that airs on the CW. And the Natalie and Jonathan scene is only in the extended cut of the episode where they're walking, the bird almost hits him, and he's like, I'm on meds, and she's like, maybe get off those meds. If they didn't put that in the main cut of the episode, they might not think it's important enough. So for that reason, I'm wondering if maybe I'm reading too much into that scene, because I feel like if it was important enough, like if it was really alluding to Jonathan already not taking X-Kryptonite, they probably would have put that in the main cut of the episode. Moving on to the other Kent brother, Jordan being a hero, and this is something that I honestly did not realize we hadn't seen, was like Jordan trying to just help people on his own that wasn't related to Superman stuff. And I'm really happy about that. I think that was a really good scene. I think that this is really good direction to take Jordan, because it would have been a little bit frustrating if Jordan's only storylines this season was sometimes going with Clark on like Clark's adventures and being there for the whole Sarah plot. So tying this all in with like Sam Lane and stuff is also really interesting, and I'm excited to do that because this also gives Sam Lane a good reason to stick around, because now that he's not part of the DOD, it's a little bit hard to kind of always find a reason why he should be on the show like full time. So just like with what they're doing with the Cushings, I think they're doing a really good job at justifying why these characters are still around on the show, which is something that the other Arrowverse shows aren't, and I'm really sorry to like keep bringing up problems with your Arrowverse shows during these reviews, because I do genuinely love the other shows. Like, I know I complain about them a lot, but I'm never going to stop watching them because like I still do love them. But the other Arrowverse shows, Flash in particular, does not do a good job at justifying why characters are still around. It feels like they just don't want to get rid of the actors and actresses, so they keep them around on the show, even though there's really no point for those characters to be around anymore. Superman and Lois so far, and we are only in season 2, so this could absolutely change going forward, but Superman and Lois so far is doing a really good job at justifying why they're not getting rid of actors and actresses. So yeah, that's something that's really good as well. Now, probably the second biggest thing about this episode that wasn't Superman vs. Bizarro. Honestly, actually, I would say this is the biggest thing about this episode. Superman Bizarro was kind of the side plot this week, but Lois, Lucy, Ali Alston, the whole cult, Chrissy, and I know I said in the last review that Ali Alston might become Parasite, but I didn't think it was likely. Yeah, I'm completely changing that now. I think that they alluded to it too many times this episode with just mentions of Parasite and infections and stuff. I think that she's absolutely becoming that villain. I still kind of hope that this is a really unique take on it though, where Ali doesn't have powers. She's not like the big pink monster from the comics. I think it would be really cool if like this is a very kind of loose take on the character, and that this is a very much no superpowers involved storyline that is very much Lois doing what needs to be done, Lois taking this into her own hands sort of thing. Now, I really like what they did with Lois this episode, all that. I think they're making Ali a really compelling villain, but I do have a couple problems with things that happened with this plotline. And this is one of the two plot lines I take issue with in this episode. And the reason why I'm not crazy about this is the characters, is what they're doing with the characters. I'm going to talk about Chrissy first, because she's the character that I'm not thinking they're handling well with this storyline. Now, yeah, this is kind of the first episode about it, but they're already seem to be turning Chrissy against Lois. And I think this is happening far too sudden. I think that they should have been doing a much more gradual, slow turn with this. Now, yes, they have technically already seeded the doubt that Chrissy has in Lois from the last 3 episodes. Like, almost every episode of, I think in every episode of the last 3, Chrissy brought up that she wasn't convinced in Lois, or that she wasn't happy how Lois was doing things, and this was the breaking point for her. But I still think this was way too much of a turn to happen in one episode. I think that this should have been a thing where they seeded it with Chrissy being like, Lois, you didn't tell the whole truth, and then over the next few episodes have Chrissy still be a little bit iffy about the whole thing before eventually making the call to Ali about Lois. Now, again, the show loves to change things all the time. Like, the show loves to mess with our expectations, so it's completely possible that will change and that they'll do completely different things than I'm thinking of. But at the moment, I'm not convinced in the character. Like, I'm not convinced in what they're doing or in how they're telling the story. It doesn't feel believable, which, like, yeah, I know saying that in a show filled with superpowers, a show filled with, like, a Bizarro version of Superman, it's kind of wild to say that I'm not believing something, but this is something I'm really not believing at the moment, is how they're telling the story, especially with Chrissy. Now, maybe I missed something, but it seems to me the reason why everyone's pissed off at Lois for not telling the truth is because Lois said that she didn't say in her article that Lucy saw things when she was near death. That seems completely understandable that she wouldn't put that in the article. Like, maybe I'm missing something, but that seems like something you wouldn't want to put in an article that's trying to clear your sister of all this stuff. If you say that your sister, who was right about to die, saw things, then that just makes her sound crazy. Like, it's completely understandable to me that she wouldn't put that in the article. And now, I get why the cult's doing this. The cult's all twisty. They're going to say whatever they want to change people to their narrative. But Chrissy shouldn't have twisted over that. Like, that, it's something I'm not believing. It's something that doesn't make sense to me that Chrissy would switch on Lois because of that. Like, I don't know. I'm hoping they change the direction of this storyline because it is worrying me a little bit. Now, the other thing I'm annoyed about with all this was their portrayal of Lucy. Now, I'm not going to say that, oh, Supergirl did Lucy Lane better, because truth be told, Lucy Lane didn't leave much of an impact on Supergirl as a show at all. Like, she was not a character that a lot of people, I think, remember just because of how Supergirl portrayed her. So I'm not going to say that, oh, they did Supergirl better, or they did Lucy better in Supergirl. That's not the case at all. And I know that this is technically a more comic book accurate version of Lucy, but I think they're really going to need to dial back what they're doing with the character, because it's something that I think is going to get frustrating very fast with how they're dealing with it. It feels like Lucy's just completely brainwashed, more or less, and I don't really know what to say about it, just that other than I'm not really interested in what they're doing. I wouldn't say I'm not interested, but I'm not going with how they're dealing with this whole storyline with her. Ali, though, great. I'm really liking what they're doing with that character. I think that's going to make a very, very, very interesting and complex villain for the show. And Lois Lane and Bitsie Tulloch, as always, are absolutely excellent. Like, one of the absolute high points of the show. So moving past that, I'm going to talk about the Cushing stuff real quick, because what they're doing with Kyle is the other thing that I'm not liking, is the other character development or the other plot line that I'm worried about. And that's because, like, the entirety of last season, or I guess for the first half of last season, they really made us think, like, oh, Kyle is such a shitty person. Like, why is he like this? Like, he's drunk all the time. He was basically clamoring with the villain. He basically became like a proper supervillain for a little bit. And then they really dialed it all back with being like, actually, Kyle's a good father. He's really getting better at what he wanted to do. He understands Morgan Edge was not who he thought he was, and all that sort of stuff. And we were like, all right, Kyle's actually not that bad of a guy. Now they're really, maybe they're again playing with our expectations, but I don't know. I think they were pretty explicit about showing us that yes, Kyle is in fact cheating on Lana, or he was cheating on Lana, and I think that it's a little bit of a not predictable, but it's a little bit of a rehash in a sense of last season, that they're already going back to him being like a bad guy or like somebody we shouldn't like, and maybe they're going to get complex with it and all that, but I think that this is something that I would rather they did not do with Kyle. Like, maybe do it with a different character, but even then, like, it's something I wouldn't like to see on the show at all. But I think that doing it with Kyle especially is a little bit frustrating, because it's already kind of rehashing what we had with the character last season in a sense, and it's also just not somewhere that I think that is a good way it's a good place to take the character personally. How they're dealing with Sarah in the whole, like, where she's being investigated by the ex-mayor and all that, I think that's going to be really interesting. I'm excited to see what they do there, and Lana, as always, is also really good. But yeah, Kyle, Lucy, Chrissy, those are like the three characters that I'm worried about in the direction this season. Other than that, though, great episode. Fun fact, the Bizarro music seems to just be like a reversed version of the Superman and Lois main theme, which is really great. I love that they did that. But yeah, honestly, this is the episode where the season is starting to really like turn in a good way for me. I'm really excited for the show to come back from hiatus. I think we're going to hit the ground running. Hopefully, like, we don't have more big breaks coming on down the line. We're probably going to have a 1 week break or a 2 week break at some point, but hopefully there's no big 2 or 3 month breaks like we had last season, pretty much non-stop. But yeah, how did you feel about Superman and Lois Season 2, Episode 4? Did you like it? Did you hate it? No, as always, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe and like and share and all of that, and I hope you have a great day.